direction. I take a mile, but they're related, so related to my story. So these are not finished either. I'm still working on them. See, do I have to stand up? No. So okay, so if I ramble, ask me questions. So
hey, can you tell us just a little bit
yeah,
about your history and
yeah,
how you got into this?
how I got into art in general.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you like a 5 minute mark.
oh, okay, 20. Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. Flag me when it's time. So when I was a kid, I just drew all the time. I loved to draw, and that was so. I'm going to go back. It's back in the olden days when all we had was a little black and white TV and video games and all of that. That was still in the future, and I am appreciative that I grew up in a time like that because I learned, I daydreamed, I used my imagination. I went out in the backyard and laid in the grass and watched the clouds and the patterns and made things out of the clouds in my mind and things that I feel like kids don't really get that anymore. But I love to draw, and so I didn't have any exposure to art. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, it was back then even smaller place than it is now. There wasn't like an art culture there. And so what there was cowboy culture. That's what I grew up in. And so my dad got Western Horseman magazine. And so every month I just wait for this magazine and I would go just spend hours drawing horses. Like I just loved drawing horses. And I liked the whole cowboy culture lore. My dad, if you could have ever met him, you would have sworn he was like John Wayne's brother. Like just John Wayne. He wanted, poor guy, he was a civil engineer, but he really wanted to be a cowboy. That was his dream. And so we had horses. We rode. We had little community rodeos. I rode barrels and flags, and it was a lot of fun. Great way to grow up. And then, so what I drew what I liked, which was Western stuff. And every year, my dad would take us to a dude ranch. You don't know what that is? It's a ranch for dudes, and so they were working ranches in Colorado, and they were like guest ranches, and so you would go and stay. We'd stay for 2 weeks, and we would go horseback riding. And I mean, we did some rough horseback riding. We went to the San Juan wilderness area and did the kind of horseback riding where you literally sleep under the stars on your blanket, on the horse blanket, by the way, which really stinks, but but it was like real Western cowboy experience, and I loved it. And so that was what my childhood was, all this Western lore and everything. Well, so then, but that we were talking about, I call it creative woundings. I think most creative people have creative woundings that they have to overcome at some time. And so, this is going to sound terrible about my dad. I'm going to fix that because I'll tell you the wonderful things he contributed to my life, but he was like, he would look at my horses and go, "What is that a rabbit? Like what?" And he'd say, "You just don't have any talent." And so as a little girl, that really crushed me. Another kind of funny story is that I in the third grade, we got introduced. We were doing some art history stuff. And so, we had textbooks with art pictures, but they were like these little tiny, thumbnail pictures in black and white in a textbook. I got fascinated with the Mona Lisa. And so I started trying to draw the Mona Lisa, and I'm like third, fourth grade, and so it's like what third, fourth grade drawings look like. And I try to put little landscapes behind. And one of the things that fascinated me about her was I couldn't tell I couldn't tell if she was smiling or frowning, if she was sad. You couldn't figure out the expression on her face. And so I kept drawing this, I kept trying to copy that. And so it looked like a sad girl. Well, the teacher collected my drawings and showed them to the school psychologist. And one day my mother picked me up from school and she said, "We need to go have a talk with this counselor, and they said, "What are you so sad about?" And I'm like, I'm not sad. They told me that was the first time I heard the word depression. They kept saying I was depressed. And I was so confused. I was like, well, why are you saying that? They said, well, you keep drawing these sad people. You keep, because they were using their and I'm a psychologist now myself. So it was a good lesson in not assuming things about people. But I said, well, you're drawing this little girl, and it must be a representation of you, and she's all sad. She never smiles. And I really liked Renaissance portraits, and those people didn't smile. And so I didn't want smiling people in my drawings. And so I just quit. It became so much pressure on me as a kid because I didn't know how to explain that to them. And so drawing just started becoming really stressful. Like if people were examining my drawings and coming to conclusions. And so by the sixth grade, I didn't have anything else to do with art. But going into middle school and all, well, then we also had to sell our horses because when maintaining horses in a city is, extremely expensive. That my parents had some hard financial times. So Western stuff, art, all just kind of went by the wayside. I went on to school, grew up, got married, went on to more school and more school and more school. And so eventually, many years later, at the age of 50, I got a temporary kind of commuting job to where of all the darn things I had to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So, my kids had left home. That was why I was taking this job. My kids had left home, and for the first time, I actually had time on my hands. And the first thing I did, I was so inspired by the landscape. And then, of course, Canyon Road. Was looking at all this art. And at the time, there was also some things going on in my life that had created a huge amount of emotional pain. Like I was just really struggling emotionally. And so I discovered that when I was out in these beautiful landscapes, or if I was standing in front of some beautiful art, the pain went quiet. And so I just it was healing. The beauty was healing me, and just that beauty all around. And so I had that urge come up again for the first time since I was probably sixth grade. That urge to I just was like, that landscape's so beautiful. I want to draw it. I want to paint it. And so I signed up for an art class, and unfortunately, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know I didn't know what kind of teacher to look for. So the first one I went to, she sat us all down at a table with a big sheet of paper, and she played some music, and she swept around the room and said, paint what you feel, paint what you feel. And I was like, I'm really not feeling anything. And I was just like scribbling on that. She said, no, paint what you feel. And that was not, obviously, I'm not an abstract artist. I love when people can do that. The people I know who do it love it, and they get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But that wasn't me. Well, eventually I found some good teachers, and started getting some art instruction. And at the time, I was so totally didn't know anything that it actually created a little bit of a problem in the art class because in Santa Fe, the people are taking art classes from really highly trained professional people, and a lot of the people in the class are already highly trained professional people selling their work. And I was asking the stupidest questions and taking up class time. It was like having a kindergartner in a advanced math class, and they were just like going, I could see them like sometimes just roll their eyes. But they were kind. There's so many of them, kind and encouraging. They kept encouraging me, just keep trying. And so when I left Santa Fe, I did. I kept trying, and I at the same time I kind of fell in love with landscape photography. So I do that too. I started really doing landscape photography, so I'd have references to paint from. But then that actually became a love in itself. So then now I had, I was kind of going back and forth. I was still working, didn't have a lot of time to practice, just practice when I could. And so just here recently, now during COVID, I was painting a lot of still lifes because we couldn't go anywhere. I was just painting flowers in my house. And so, and up until then, I've just been, practicing whatever I could, drawing people, drawing stuff. Um, and here just recently in the last year, I actually went someplace for a photography shoot that somebody talked me into going to. And they're like, oh, there's going to be cowboys and Indians. And, this is like going to be a Western photo shoot. And so there were two in this year. In the fall, there was one in Wyoming and one in Kansas. And so some of the people there were actually ranchers and cowboys, like they were the real deal. And some of them were Western reenactors, and I mean, real serious ones that like they make sure their costumes are, fit the history and the period. And so I took a lot of pictures of them, and I started remembering um, that love that I had. And at first, I was kind of embarrassed, like because Western lore has it's idealistic, and it's kind of like I was like, I kind of resisted that, but I was really being drawn back into it. So I started asking myself why. Why am I wanting to do this so much? I'm obviously I loved it when I was a kid. It's appealing to that. But I actually started when I was there at these photo shoots, and I was actually seeing, because they were reenacting real life stuff. And I started I went back and was remembering, um, you know, the a lot of the good things that are embedded in Western lore. And and I started realizing how much that had impacted me as a child and how much it had become a part of me. And I didn't even know it. But it was a lot of good stuff. I wrote down just a few of them. I'm kind of keeping a list because I think I'm going to do spring from this. This is my first two Western paintings, but I'm going to spring from this to, I think I'm going to start doing a series. Um, and so what I realized is you hear about the code of the West. Well, there's bad guy code and there's good guy code. And so the part I was absorbed as a child without actually really realizing it was the good guy code. And so it was things like face each challenge with courage. Real courage is being scared but saddling up anyway. A big one was keep your word and fulfill your promises. Keep your honor intact. Take pride in your work. And when you're riding through hell, keep on riding. So some of the toughest roads lead to the most beautiful destinations. Well done is better than well said. Some things are not for sale. And take the one I really love, take time for all wonder and gratitude for creation. And in these cowboys, even that I've been around recently, these rodeo people and cowboys and ranchers, cowgirls. When I say cowboys, I'm including girls, but they have such a love and respect for nature and animals. And when you think about it, we really like animals. We had to, like, they were everything. We had to have horses. What would we have done without horses? And how would America have developed without horses? How far would that have put us back? And so there's that love and respect and taking care of your animals, and also respecting nature, taking care of nature, and taking time to just sit in front of a beautiful view and absorb it, and to appreciate how creation works, and being so in touch with the land, and with the all the creatures of the land. And so when I came back from those photo shoots and I started thinking about all of this while I was painting these, and so the this top painting is a guy who was at one of the photo shoots, and he was I think he was either Crow or Lakota. I've kind of forgotten because I've been around both lately. And the forest that's there is that background forest is a picture I took at a place called Pando, Fish Lake National Forest in Utah, that I went and saw last year. And Pando is the largest living organism on the earth. It's an aspen tree forest. And all the aspen trees are connected by roots. They all share the same DNA. And it is dying right now. They can't find a way to keep the I think they call them, they're mule deer. They can't keep the mule deer out, and they've tried different kind of fencing, and it ends up keeping out other animals that are beneficial, and then also, unfortunately, they have some cattlemen grazing cattle there too. And so the reason those two things are a problem is they eat the seedlings. And if an aspen tree forest, because it's all connected, when some of the trees will all a lot of them will die at approximately the same time. And they have to have, the young ones have to have come up and be ready to take their place. And if they're not, then the thing just starts dying out. So it's shrinking right now. It's getting smaller. I wanted to see it before it died. So I just went up there by myself and went and took pictures in the fall. And so I put him in there. And as I did that, and this is kind of how my process works, I'll like have an idea based on a photograph I took, and then I'll try to match the subject with the landscape. And sometimes I'll use one. I have a whole bunch of a library now that I've been collecting for years, and so I might have a sky over here and a landscape over here and a subject over here, and I just mix and match, put them all together to try to make a story. And so this one is Fall Song. This one is Back to School, and those two little kids driving this, like, that cutest thing, the little wagon with this little. They look like, I don't know what you call them. I guess they're miniature Clydesdales or something. They're little miniature horses, and so I had taken pictures of them, but Fall Song. Of course, I love fall, and I looked. So while I was painting it, I thought, I wonder if there's a Native American song or something that just popped in my head one day. And so I went and looked, and would you believe Joy Harjo, who was a poet laureate, I think in 2017. Forgotten the year. She's from Oklahoma, a Native American from Oklahoma, and she had written this song called Fall Song. It's a dark fall day. The earth is slightly damp with rain. I hear a jay. The cry is blue. I have found you in the story again. Is there another word for divine? I need a song that will keep sky open in my mind. If I think behind me, I might break. If I think forward, I lose now. Forever will be a day like this, strung perfectly on the necklace of days. Slightly overcast, yellow leaves, your jacket hanging in the hallway next to mine. And that was just so delightful to me because that poem just resonated with the way I feel about fall. And so then I had to go put Blue Jays in. So anyway, that's, and right now what I'm doing, you got it painted. I'm right now what I'm doing is I go take photographs and look at them in black and white and look at the value structure. And I'm not really happy with the value structure in a couple of different ways. And remember, the cowboy ethics is you do it right. So that was one of the things you have to be proud of your work. And so I'm not quite proud of those yet. I had to paint. I just went crazy trying to paint little tiny face, and so I need to go back and repaint that and not let it go till I'm proud of it. But that's kind of what my process is. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Do,
well, yeah. Can we, anybody
do you
has
want to?
questions? Share about the process? So what medium do you?
Oh, these are oil. I start out with acrylic as a underpainting just because it dries faster, and then do the painting in oil. Yeah. 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 I'll put it this way. I once painted a mural on an entire wall in my house. And then when my husband went out of town one time, I went and just painted over it because I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand. Every time I'd sit there and look, I'd be thinking, I did that wrong and this wrong, So it's hard to decide, hard to turn loose, hard to know when to stop. It is. So most of the time, it's just because I'm sick of it. Like that's, then I'll stop. What's that? Oh, goodness. I don't think I could even, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. Well, for one thing, when I paint, I totally lose track of time. And then I don't do it like all at once because I'm working and busy. And so I'll go in the studio and mess with it. And then maybe 2 or 3 days go by and then I'll go mess with it some more. So I don't have any idea. Probably a lot, though. Say a lot. I should say it took me 60 years, really, actually.
So Donna, I was
Mhm.
wondering with, what you said earlier about the Aspen Forest
Uh-huh.
line, and then you have the Native American
Mm-hmm.
kind of part of that picture.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious choice or?
It was like, I don't, it's not like I think it out rationally ahead of time. It's just something that it feels instinctive. And it wasn't till I started painting it that I'm like, oh, this has got so many layers of meaning here, and I don't even know what they are. I don't. It's like a lot of times when I'm feeling, I can't verbalize, and so that's why I paint because I can paint it, but I can't say it, and so there's a lot in that I just and so I just would prefer that people look at it and have their own experience anyway. So yes, I am painting what I feel, but but with a little more structure. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you're a landscape photographer, so yeah. 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 Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm actually still kind of tinkering with the depth, with the values, and can just, little adjustments. So, but thank you. I appreciate that. What's that? Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I've been painting in my mind, I guess. I didn't know how, but I've been noticing, just observing and noticing, because that was something that started in my childhood where I was like so observant of, it's because I was so connected with the real world. And so, yeah,
What I love
thanks.
about it, it's you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like your
it's,
story
yeah,
and the country and the horses and everything.
yeah.
Like it's you, it's your heart, it's your spirit, it's your
Hmm.
essence. Really awesome.
Yeah. And I finally had to give myself permission to do that, because I tried selling art in a gallery for a little while, and that messed me up in the head really bad, because then I was just trying to figure out what would people buy, and I almost just quit altogether, because it just became artist hell for me. And so part of being able to get a breakthrough into what I really wanted to do was to get to where I stopped thinking of caring what people think, and just paint what I feel, paint what I know, paint what I want to do. And that has actually opened me up to a whole new thing here. So
You're an artist in the room who need more of that.
yeah, yeah, gotta be, it's got to be you. Can't be doing it for somebody else. Yeah.
Anybody
All right.
anything else? I do.
Yeah.
You mentioned your psychologist.
Uh-huh.
Um, how often do you face the resistance of your academic side to your artistic side?
Let's see. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that. It's not. I won't say it's not my academic side, because I really do have this ability to just compartmentalize that. It's like when I'm at work, when I'm not at work, I turn it off. It's just, I've just learned to do that over the years. But it's the rational mind in general. It's that rational thinking that I really have to work at not not getting in my head too much.
Composition, that is a rational process.
Yeah, and it is, and I can. Right. And so I'm working on a new one, and I had that issue. I started trying to do a composition, and I got so tangled up in golden triangles and rule of thirds and the spiral. I finally just went, this is ridiculous. Like, it was freezing me up, and I couldn't do anything. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to paint it this way because I like the way that looks. I'm just going to, like, it's just for me. So it doesn't matter. So yeah, I do get caught up in my head too much. And when that happens, it's not, I'm not, I get frozen, I get paralyzed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm really absorbing story, your art, and what I know about you. So it sounds like, or at least something I'm picking up is just, when you find yourself freezing up or artist
Mm-hmm.
hell or whatever, those are kind of like guardrails that let you know that
Mm-hmm.
would you say that kind of getting
Yeah.
off the path?
Yeah.
You gotta pay attention to
Yeah,
that.
it took me a long time to learn that, but it took me a while to figure that out. I probably needed therapy, but from someone who understood creative process. But yeah, when I start now, I'm getting more and more aware of it, more conscious of. Because when I spend 2 days, like I just did, Like I'm literally the last 2 days just getting all in my head and frustrated. That's when I go, okay, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna come back, and I'm just gonna do what instinctively feels like it looks good to me.
So it's really, I think some of my takeaway is just really paying attention to your frustration,
Mm-hmm.
paying attention
Mm-hmm.
when you feel blocked.
Yeah, when you start
It's
feeling
trying to tell you
stuck,
something. Yeah.
when I start feeling stuck or blocked, I know there's something going on. And so, like, one thing I really had to work hard at is getting those voices out of my head that I had from my childhood. And because there was a lot there that had me hung up. Well, and one of the issues in my family was that art is worthless. I once this long story, but I once got some art supplies and had to hide them from my mother because it was a waste of time. And so I had all of this junk in there that just said it was worthless, and unless you're making money with it, then it's worth. It was all that twisted up stuff. And so I spent quite a while, um, probably over the course of several years, having to journal that. First, recognize it, journal it out, and get rid of it. That was a long process.
So yeah, hopefully you guys don't mind. So when you mentioned like the cowboy code and then
Mm-hmm.
trying to connect paintings to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is it with your process? Does it help to have those kinds of goals? Like this is where
I've never done it before. So I mean, I have no idea. This is new territory for me. So my idea, because I've already once this occurred to me, I just went crazy in my sketchbook with ideas for paintings. And once I had the permission to do it, and then I actually and I actually like was able to verbalize how it was connecting with me. And then all of a sudden I started getting all these ideas, and I've got several pages now, and been writing down this code. I'm like, okay, this picture is going to represent this code, and this one's going to do, and I've never done that before. I've never had that kind of direction. It's all just up till now just been random paintings. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. I might get like bored with it. I don't know. No, I really do think that this is like because of the way it feels. Like, oh, I feel like a pathway has opened up in front of me.
So is the Western art? How many years would you say you've been doing
Western
that?
art, since October of this year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was drawing horses, but hadn't. Yeah, that's the first thing I've done. I've just done these since October, and kind of around fall. Yeah.
I think it's really fascinating. It's like there's all these jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah,
Pieces,
it is.
and even taking the classes to
Yeah.
photography to this picture, this scene,
Yeah.
this person.
And then eventually it kind of all starts coming together. I didn't think it ever would because I've been working at learning for, over 10 years. And it was still just random kind of hit or, just random without real purpose, except that I just liked doing it. I just compelled to paint. And so I just did, but didn't have any real direction or anything. So
So initially it was kind of following your curiosity.
yes, exactly.
And
yeah, that's a good way to say it.
all those pieces and now
Yeah,
have a convergence.
yeah.
Where
It was kind of just, oh, I just feel like doing this, or I just want to learn some more about this, and take a workshop here and a workshop there, and Now, man, YouTube videos, they didn't have those even just 10 years ago, but there's some fantastic instruction. And so, which is almost overwhelming because then I want to try everything. That's the problem I run into.
I mean, also you're at a time in your life
Mm-hmm.
where, you're raising your boys
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of margin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you think partly it's just.
You mean because I'm getting old and I'm going to die? Is that?
No, I don't think that. But as you get, I mean,
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, because there's fewer now. You reach that place where you realize that you have fewer years left than what you've already lived. And yes, I did feel a lot of that pressure. And what's weird now, see, and this is kind of comforting because I started when I was 50 and I thought I was too old.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 64. And when I was 50, I was like, well, I'm not ever gonna. I might die before I get there. And now I'm just like, it's I might live to be 90. So who knows? It's just today, to the now, doing it for the now, and not worrying about where's this going to go in the future, and regretting that I didn't do it in the past. It's just enjoy it right now, and I am really enjoying it right now. So it's a great blessing to me. Yeah. No, I was way older than you before I even started. So yeah, you've got plenty of time. And that's exciting because with lots more time, you'll be able to go a lot further.
Yeah, thank you, Donna.
All right. Okay, thank you.